Oh, I was just telling Rav Shalom, I'm so happy that this album finally came out. But when I came in here, I realized that more than half of this album, the Nigunim, came down here. Yeah, most of the songs in this album, it came down right here. Most of the songs in here. Let's sing one more. It came down here. Good. It's for Chodesh Adar. This one. This came down 2 years ago, right before Purim. Sheishanas Yaakov Tzala V'Samecha Miroi Yachad V'Ines Mardecha Sheishanas Yaakov Tzala V'Samecha Miroi Yachad V'Ines Mardecha Ay Chuasa Ay Salanesa Esik Masa V'Logarmika Ay Chuasa Ay Salaneta, Besika, Samelogarmika, Ay Sheishanas Yaakov Yeah, this one also, thank you. This one too came out to, this one also came down right here. It was 2 years ago, right before Purim. I remember we spent half the year just trying to figure out this nigun. But
it was a great year.
Anyway, all right. Welcome everyone. I'm so glad we have another. This has been such a. I've been wanting for so many. It's probably been at least like 4 or 5 years to have an opportunity to learn here for me on a weekly basis, and it never worked out for whatever the reasons, but it's just so special for me personally. I'm so full of hakaras hatov to Hashem and to Reb Shalom and Judy for the opportunity to continue pouring out our hearts together on a weekly basis here Wednesday night in Yerushalayim. And the gate should only open wider and wider and wider for all of us to truly fall in love and become part of the Torah which we're learning. I dedicate the Refuah Shlema tonight, the Shir for the Refuah Shlema of a good old friend of mine's son to, I think the kid's name is Avram Moshe Ben Gila. So Refuah Shlema, 3-year-old boy. He needs a big Refuah Shlema. And also, the truth is, I feel so,
I also want to dedicate this shir to my uncle, who's 96 years old today.
Wow.
Mazel
tov. I mean.
Awesome. It's Gematria Tzav. It's like command, keep on living.
Yeah.
No matter what. And also, I haven't seen Binyamin since probably Velis, no?
Yeah.
So welcome home, huh? Yeah. Welcome home. I'm so happy I haven't seen him in a long time. And I could ask Mechila with Arhesia from you.
Why?
But that my that I missed your wedding.
Right.
Yeah, because your daughter was.
But it was it was the highest reason in the world. This was my daughter was born 2 hours before her chuppah. So Baruch Hashem. Anyway, it should only be for good things that things don't add up. Only for good things that things don't add up. So there's a common theme that if we had to see what shows up most in the Torah of Reb Shlomo, then you could say, well, I'm sure he says the words you never know in every single teaching. Or, obviously, when we do sometimes auto searches for certain words to do, so you could just type in the word gewalt and you see it show up how many times in a transcript, or mamish, or heilige, those 3 words, mamish, gewalt, and heilige. Those show up more than anything else.
How open your heart?
Could be in different variations, but as a word, mamish, gewalt, and heilige are common. But on a theme level is something that we've noticed throughout the years many, many times. And that is essentially, what are we busy doing here in this world? We're all of us. It's what's been happening from the first day in the Torah, from the 6th day in the Torah. We're all trying somehow to fix Chet Eitz Hadat. We're always tuning back into fixing the sin of the tree of knowledge. Everything in Reb Shlomo's teachings is always leading us back from another, God bless you, always taking us to like another angle of somehow trying to find access to just kill it already, to figure out one way to just do a tikkun for the chet of Adam Rishon, do a fixing for the sin of Adam. So I think I showed you, I don't actually have it here, but it's very weird how in today's day and age, this has become the most common simon in the world. The sign of an apple with a bite in it. It's very weird that this has actually taken over the world. You ever notice this? Everything is chet eitz hadat. So I'll tell you, Gan Eden, one day I brought my MacBook home, and I left it on the table, and I come home, and there's a big sticker. Some of my friends have seen it. Did you ever see it on the back of the Mac?
On the bite.
On the bite, I come home one day, my daughter put a sticker of a Shana Tova sticker on the bite. And she didn't realize what she was doing. She did it on the bite of the apple on the back of my, is it on here too? Mm-hmm. You have it here? So right here, she did a big sticker to do it. I mean, for me, it's like my daughter's tuning in into what we're supposed to be doing in the world, the tikkun for that bite. It's hadas. But on a more serious note, every single teaching in the world, if it was really done correctly, can be drawn to that place of fixing the sin of the tikkun for chet eitz hadat. And the closer we're getting to Mashiach, the more we're seeing more and more avenues and opportunities to just let ourselves feel like we're on the right path, and hopefully going to that place of fixing that sin. In tonight's teaching, which is a wonderful, brilliant teaching from Reb Shlomo, that he gave over in the middle of a concert. It was Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon. That year it was Adar Rishon, Adar Sheni. February 15th, 1978. Those are the Shlomo freaks in the house know that that week was a very busy week because we know that Kiva Moed came down February 12th, 1978, and there's a lot of other things were happening around those times, and there was certain shiurim that Reb Shlomo gave February 16th, 17th, and 18th. February 15th, 1978, Reb Shlomo was up in Palo Alto, and there was a very, very strong chevra back then. I'm sure, maybe, I'm not sure, but I would assume there's still some really sweet chevra up there now. And the gates were just, something was flowing, something very real was flowing in the air. So if we have an opportunity tonight to figure out a way to, again, correct the sin of the Chet Eitz Hadas, we first have to understand what the sin really was. And Reb Shlomo has told us many times, the sin was not that Adam ate the wrong apple. Reb Shlomo says we eat thousands of wrong apples every day. The question is, what's around that story that has to do with you and me today? So we can run to the way that Ishbitzer and Rabbi Nachman explained the sin. And how they explain that the sin was not that Adam ate the wrong apple, but it was that Adam thought that after you eat one rotten apple, that the game is over. That's the Avera. That's actually an Avera. You made an accident that happens all the time, but to be over, meaning to cross over, to find yourself out of like mamash, you're crossing, you're being cross with God, that's when you think that there's a great enough Avera to drive you out of the Torah. That you could actually have the chutzpah to think that there's something that humanly possible you could do that would cause Hashem to tell you, I'm sorry, you're officially uninvited to the parade. There's no such thing. That's when it becomes very tricky. Now, one more avenue of this is that we have to really look very much into is the whole notion of the snake, of the nachash. And the nachash, which you all know is the same gematria as the word Mashiach. The nachash, the snake, is not a simple thing at all. The snake who keeps on showing up in our lives, you have snake friends in your life? You know what snake friends are? You see, they show up in your life. They're not always there, but they always come and show up in your life exactly at a weird moment where they smell some kind of possibility or opportunity. Snake friends. If you call in the middle of the night, you need something, they won't answer the phone. They'll say the next morning, sorry, I turned my phone off. Snake friends, they kind of show up and they tell you, yeah, I'm so sorry, I haven't been in your life for the last 15 years, but how are you doing now? And you obviously know that, they heard that you finally struck that record deal or whatever it is. They show up exactly at the times where it's mamash suits them the best, the most. So tonight, what we're going to be doing, based on Reb Shlomo's understanding of the third teaching in the Mea Shiloach on our Parsha, he's going to take Parshat Trumah and he's going to weave it into the most beautiful teaching on the Chet Eitz Hadas. Now, one more thing I want to mention. Yesterday in the Efrat, we were learning with the Chevra that Chodesh Adar used to be an amazing, amazing month, even prior to the story of Mordechai and Esther. Because what happened in Chodesh Adar, even before the story of Adar, the whole story of Purim, what took place, says the Chidush Yarim. The Chidush Yarim explains, the first Ger Rebbe explains that the month of Adar was designated as the month of ultimate hitchachut atshuka, the renewal of passion. Why? What was about to take place after the month of Adar? Well, what took place before that? What took place on the first day of Nisan? The first day of Nisan in the Torah, Chanukah HaMishkan, yeah. So I meant before that on a date level, not chronologically. Chanukah HaMishkan, the inauguration of the Mishkan, took place on Aleph Nisan. And everyone was so excited. Obviously, you know that whenever a Yid had a passion for Hashem, There's a reshinu of that in the world forever. That's how holidays are. Why holidays are so powerful, because there was a time where so many Yidden had passion. They were excited about a certain holiday that keeps on leaving its mark in the world for Dorei Doros, for generations and generations. Says the Chidush Yarim, even before the story of Purim, the month of Adar was designated as the month, not designated, it became the month of anticipation, of tzipiyah, that, oh my God, that thing we've been crying for to happen for so long, that thing we wish took place already, that thing that we weren't sure if it was ever going to really happen. Like many people spend years and years and years on building schools, building shuls, building institutions, building marriages. They're never quite sure that it'll ever actually stand on its own. But then you see, oh my God, it really is coming together. You can't believe it. So what happens right then and there? There's this unbelievable anticipation of seeing how all your tefillahs and hard work paid off. That's what the month of Adar was, even before the story of Purim. And that's why this month, the Chidush Yarim says, and now we have 60 days of it, is a very special time to get in tune with all the things you've worked on so much and ask yourself, next month, or in 2 months actually, in our situation, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is something going to be finally standing firm? Anyway, that took place. Even before the story of Purim, that took place during the month of Adar. So not chas v'shalom to belittle. I don't think it's possible to belittle Purim. There's no such thing as belittling Purim. Like I saw the Kotzker Rebbe said, I was reading something about the Kotzker Rebbe, his yahrzeit was last week, where it says that by his Purim Tish, you tasted every single holiday in the calendar. So you can't belittle Purim at all. Not at all. However, what we want to do right now tonight is we're not even getting to Purim yet, but there's a lot we have to do right now in the Parsha, which will connect us to understanding why we're still busy and why the sin hasn't been fixed yet. But hopefully by the end of this year, this Torah won't be relevant. Okay. We might have, maybe just with you, but we did a version of this years ago, 5-6 years ago. Benji, maybe you were around, but whatever it is. Yeah, this one is out of this one. It's a Torah you can do every single day of the year, that's the truth. It just works out great when it comes out the Parsha that you're on. Everyone has? All right. Shlomo says like this. In Parshat Trumah we read that Hashem told Moshe, tell the children of Israel to give gifts to build the holy temple. This gift is called Trumah. Trumah means a gift, but it has 2 more meanings. The word Trumah has 2 more meanings. Trumah comes from the word leromem, which means to elevate. And Trumah also comes from the word lehavdil, which means to separate. Okay? By the way, who says this? Who says that this is what Trumah means, leromem and lehavdil? Does anyone figure out who says this? Anyone do Shnai Mikra Echad Targum yet this week? Anyone see Rashi this week? So Rashi is very strong in this teaching as well. Okay, that wasn't meant to make anyone feel really bad. I just really wanted to know if anyone saw Shnai Mikra Echad Targum. I'm not up to it yet either. It's not that it's fine, but Baruch Hashem, we're all holy schleppers. Let's just schlep it out together. Just a few more minutes. So again, Trumah comes from the word leromem, to elevate, and Trumah also comes from the word lehavdil, to separate. On a simple level, it means that if I have $10 and I give $5 for the holy temple, so I separate this $5 from the other $5. As simple as it is. When I'm giving something for a high purpose, it means I'm making it high. By the way, that's in Torah concept. What do we call that? Hekdesh. What does Hekdesh mean? What does anyone know what Hekdesh was? What is Hekdesh? What's that? towards what? Towards the code, right? So you're separating. With that same money, you could buy a falafel, but you're using it for something. You know when it hit me the strongest? When I was about 17. So for about a year, I lived. Long story. My family had just moved back to LA. I also moved to LA, but I came back for the year. I was learning in this really cool yeshiva in Ramat Gan, the Hesder of Ramat Gan, where Yitzvah. And on Friday, where the yeshiva dorms were, was mamish in the border of Ramat Gan and Bnei Brak. So on Fridays, I had a great minhag that I would go to Rehov Rabbi Akiva, it's the main street there in Bnei Brak, and find these amazing Sfarim shops. And I remember that I was walking into I was about to go into a store, and then I saw that some guy was selling. It said there, falafel, rak 10 shekel. Like, what? I'll grab a falafel for 10 shekel. I'm hungry. Then I walked into a store after that, and I saw, wow, Degel Machane Ephraim, 10 shekel. Ohev Yisrael, all those Sfarim, the very thin publications. Ohev Yisrael, the Sefer, the Apter Rebbe, 10 shekel. Mor Enayim, the Chernobyl Rebbe, was also 10 shekel. I realized I just swallowed 10 shekel that I'll never see again, ever. And here it must have been that was all money I had. I don't know what it was, but it hit me so deep. Like, I just took in 10 shekel, forget the grease that was escorted with that 10 shekel. But here they're offering me Olam Haba for 10 shekel too. I'm being offered, it's amazing how this world is so wacky. Like for 10 shekel, the equivalent of 10 shekel could either been with 5 falafel bowls with schmaltz and grease, in and out, or Chai Olam Nata B'Sechenu, or you're giving me life. So I always think about that example over here is like, when I'm giving something for a high purpose, it means I'm making it high. It means I'm making that money high. I'm elevating the money itself. Whatever it is I'm using. It could be time. Shlomo will tell us a little bit later, but I'll just say it now. Can you imagine today? Today the test is so great. Why? Why is the test so great? Because if, let's say, you have 5 minutes to kill, right? So it used to be you had to work really hard to get distracted. Today, because of brother Chet Eitz Adas, right? It's like the easiest thing in the world to be distracted. But can you imagine every single time you choose to take 5 minutes and actually learn, as opposed to you name your favorite social media network? What are you doing with those 5 minutes? Hivdalta, hifrashta, romamta. You separated those 5 minutes for the rest of the day, and you elevated those 5 minutes for the rest of the day. This is what Trumah is. This is what Trumah really means. Separating, not just separating and saying this is separate, which we'll explain right now, but elevating it. That's when it becomes amazing. Look back inside the second paragraph. Imagine I'm very wealthy, and everyone knows all about my riches. I give money here, I pay that insurance there. And while paying my bills, I send my donation for the Holy Temple. How does this type of giving sound to you? I might be, now look what he says here. This is the chap. I might be giving $2 million for the Holy Temple on a weekly basis, but with this kind of money, you can't build a Holy Temple. You can build an apartment somewhere, but not a Holy Temple. Because when it comes to the Beis HaMikdash, it has to be separate. You don't knock off a telephone bill, credit card, and while you're at it, some money for the Holy Temple. Crazy. Possible. It's possible. He'll take this example even more stark soon. Let's go one step further. Separate does not only have to do when it comes to money for the Holy Temple. Everything you do for God has to be separate. If you do it in the same sentence as you are doing something else, forget it. Forget it. Don't waste your time. And then he says here, a very harif statement, don't waste God's time. You ever hear any Rebbe talk like that? Don't waste God's time. You're wasting God's time. Meaning if you're Avodas Hashem, if what you're doing is like, just another thing, like everything else that I'm doing, You know how much wasting God said? How many people for them, it really is like davening, Shachris in the morning is just one of the things they need to knock off on a daily basis. Well, Shachris is a little bit mincha. Definitely mincha. But when it comes to even other things, like with your children, part of your daily choice is, I really have to work on showing my children that I'm paying attention to them. So in between writing out, signing your bills, and in between all the other things that you're doing, you also, that other thing also. What's that thing I have to do? What's that thing I have to go ask my kid how their day was. That's not Trumah. You didn't elevate anything like that. You didn't separate. That time is not separated at all. You okay with it? How you doing? You didn't separate that time at all. Okay, next paragraph. You see what it is? We are in God's hands. Right? Meaning, Hashem does with us whatever he wants to do with us, right? And also, humanly speaking, God is in our hands. That sounds like a very apikoros thing to say. God is in our hands. But look what he does with this. This is such an important time. This is probably the most important teaching of tonight. He says like this, that which happens to me is in God's hands. But you know what is in my hands? To make God high or low. That's in my hands. I can make God so high, or I can, God forbid, drag God down so low, so meaningless, so empty. I can make God so non-special in my life. Chas v'shalom. But he's saying that that's the trick of this world, is that you can't just say God's the greatest, I don't have to work on elevating him, right? It's not true. We say, Keli ata v'odeka, Elokai, what's the next word? Aromemeka. I will elevate you. No, everyone says, what do you mean, I will elevate you, God? So I say, no, Keli ata v'odeka, when I realize that you're my God, and I thank you, v'odeka. What's the natural result of a healthy relationship with God? When I feel like I have a personal connection to Hashem, there's something going on with God that's just about him and me. Elokai, you're my Elokim, Aromemeka. I will lift you up. How do you lift God up? Where is God in your life? You lift up the moments that you have with Hashem. How is God special in your life? Is God special in your life? Is your religious observance a special thing? Or is it just like a million other things? Again, Shlomo is not talking about if you keep Torah, keep halacha or not. Not at all. He's dafka speaking about those people that probably do keep halacha. But the moments of their observance have nothing to do with aromemeka, of lifting it up. It's just like everything else in the world. Look back inside. You see the third to bottom paragraph? There are a lot of people who believe in God, but the God they believe in is not special. Wow. Okay, this is an atomic explosion. This sentence is so powerful. I want to read it again, please, Tevra. Give all your heart and soul to this sentence. I'll tell you the truth, it's these sentences that set my neshama on fire, because it puts everything into perspective. Look what he says again. There are a lot of people who believe in God, but the God they believe in is not special. Like, I once had a friend who wanted to sit down and schmooze out his God problems with me, and all his time is on God. So I said, and why he has a really hard time believing in God. So at the end of him pouring out his heart and soul for like 40 minutes, I said to him, listen, I have bad news. He said, why? He said, because I don't think I'm going to help you right now. He said, why? I said, because the God that you don't really believe in, I also don't believe in so much. Because to him, there was nothing special. There was nothing personal. There was nothing real. There was nothing intimate about his description of what Hashem is for him in his life. It was just that if there was anything intimate and special, it was just the Punisher. That's it. That was the whole personal experience that he had with Hashem in his life, as the recipient of punishments. So Reb Shlomo says over here again, there are a lot of people who believe in God, but the God they believe in is not special. Here he's saying something a little bit different, I realize. He's saying over here, the space that the concept of Hashem takes up in your life is not greater than probably your Staples Center box seats that you have actually, it's probably much less than that. I'll tell you a story, Rosh Chodesh Adar. This is a story I wish I never had to tell. I wish I never tell the story. It's so real. I don't know how many, I think it was before I was married. It was a long time ago. I was in the States for around this time. I was touring, and there was a school that asked to come and lead a musical hallel on Rosh Chodesh Adar. I'm not going to tell you what names of the teams are, because you'll figure out what city it is. But I came to shul, and the night before, I'm not going to say apparently there was a big sports game. There was a big sports game. I think I might have even been there. I watched it. It was awesome. My friends know I'm an NBA freak, and I was very into it. But the next morning, Rosh Chodesh Adar is Rosh Chodesh Adar. All the kids showed up more or less on time. They all had their talis, their tefillins on, and to get the check that they showed up on time. And the whole conversation was about overtime, meaning all of Psukei de Zimra was discussing last night's overtime. And then when we got to Birkos Kriyas Shema, everything, so then it was silence. The kids weren't allowed to bring in their cell phones, but they were writing notes, talking, because you can't be chas v'shalom mafsek, or you don't want to speak in between the words, because then you're out of it, you're doing an hefsek. And Hallel was atrocious. The point is, atrocious. The point was this: why should these kids feel that their God moments are special moments, are separate moments, are elevated moments? Why should they feel it? Where are they learning? Where are they learning? They go to shul, and you know what? Maybe the most frumer ones there, from frum homes, you know what they see their father doing? Learning a good sefer during davening instead of experiencing. So why should the moments be elevated? Why should they be special? In that same community, a few years later, I did a Shabbaton in one of their local shuls, big shul. And I had to daven in a different minyan, but they wanted to show me the main sanctuary. So I walked into the main sanctuary, and there were a lot of people there. So I was wondering what time minyan starts here. I asked the guy that brought me there. I said, what time does this minyan start? He said, what are you talking about? 20 minutes ago. What? You could just imagine what it looked like. When you're not learning on the level that the moments with Hashem are separate, they're elevated moments, then shul becomes just a very interesting social gathering. So too, yeshiva, anything that's labeled religious. And our whole avoda in life is to make sure that the moments that are designated for God time are actually God time. That those moments that are mufrash and muvdal are also merumam, they're also meromam. They're not just separated, they're also elevated. That's what Trumah is. Now, how do we know this? Because the pasuk says, bless you, B'chuli Trumah, from where? From where should they take a Trumah? Where should they give the gift from? Me'et kol ish asher yidveno libo tikhu trumati. The heart only gives something special. When something comes from the heart, it's merumam, it's muvdal, it's mufrash. So all we're busy doing in today's day and age is carving shlilim, pathways to reach our hearts, to know how to express our heart. Because if our heart is expressed, then what we're giving forth to Hashem religiously, then our observance is special, is real, is separated, is elevated. Okay, let's look back inside. Again, there are a lot of people who believe in God, but the God they believe in is not special. There are those who stay in the Hilton in Istanbul, sometimes in the Hilton in Tel Aviv. And when they come home, it's the same thing. Meaning the feeling of where they're sleeping is not any different. It's another bed. Then there are some people that when they open the door to their house, it is always so special, no matter what. So the Ishbitzer says, this is Meshilach, the second Torah on the word Vayikchu. Everything I do for God has to be separate. It cannot be the same as something else. Everything I'm doing for God has to be so high, so special. The most beautiful thing about it is that it's up to me. It's my choice. This is what's so beautiful about the whole thing, is that it's up to me. This is my celebration of free will, is what am I doing with those opportunities? It's up to me. Am I making God seem so boring, irrelevant, old school, or am I making Hashem and my relationship and my feelings with Him the most relevant moments of my life? By the way, you know when you have the opportunity to do that? Any given sec. That's the whole trick here. That there's never a moment where you could say, I don't know when I can do this. What do you mean? You can do it right now. Are you taking notes like you're taking notes in a biology class? Are you taking mental notes like you're taking mental notes in a math class? What are you doing with these moments? How are you relating to them? Sweet Chevra. Shalom. Okay, bottom paragraph. Now I want you to open your hearts even wider. Here we're coming now to the Eitz Hadas. Here we're coming to the garden, to the tree. God cursed the snake that the snake should eat dust. That was right, al gechoncha telech, meaning that he doesn't have any legs anymore. He's always on the ground, and his curse is that he's going to eat dust the rest of his life. So everyone's asking the question, what's so terrible about it? In the meantime, the snake is never hungry. The snake has no trouble being full, right? Whatever it wants is always there. Whatever it's used to eating is always available to him. The snake has everything it needs. You know, this reminds me of my dream when I was a little kid. There was a store on La Brea. There's a few have here from LA. There was a store in La Brea when I was a little kid. There was only like 3 pizza places. And one of the pizza places that I grew up going to was a place called Pizza Maven. Remember that place? Pizza Maven? Do you remember it? It's still there.
I don't know.
It's still there. Pizza Maven. Yeah. Like a Mavin, Pizza Maven. The guy's a Maven in pizza. Right? It took me years to realize that. I was like, what's a Maven? It took me years, so I figured that one out. A Pizza Maven, right? And really, this guy behind the beard, the Lubavitcher beard down to his pupik, he was a pizza maven. It's very interesting. So I remember every time I'd go there, I'd always look at him like, this guy has everything. He's around pizza all the time. Now I realize he's such a maven in pizza that he can't separate himself from it. But then my mother once said to me, Shlomo, do you think he ever eats pizza anymore? I'm thinking like, right? I'm thinking like, what else does he know? Of course he does, right? But you see where we're going with this. I bet you the last thing he wants to eat is pizza. Like, does Jeff eat sausages all day long?
It's like Mitzrayim with the rain. How they have the Nilos.
Nachon. He's going to say this here in a different way. Look what he says here. Let me ask you, friends, what does it mean that the snake is eating dust? It means that everything tastes like dust. You can place the most delicious food before the snake, it also tastes like dust. Sadly enough, we have met a lot of snake people in our lives. Everything is nothing. Everything's dust. Everything is a joke. These are the snake people. These are the tree of knowledge people. Wow, it's a very deep concept. Meaning he's saying tree of knowledge people. What on a certain level, knowledge, when you crack it down to its core, is always just a piece of knowledge. It's just information for the intellect and for the brain. It's kind of like dust. It's always there. But on a level of feeling, does knowledge ever feel different? Well, it's up to you. That's the point. The knowledge that you attain, the learning which you accomplish, the shiurim that you go to. You ever find yourself going to like tons of shiurim and like at a certain point everything just sounds the same? Like every teacher sounds like he's basically trying to say the same exact point. Never happened to you guys? The gigglers are identifying with what I'm saying right now. Like at a certain point, everyone's just kind of just saying the same thing, right? What's the problem with that? Well, besides it being true in many cases, but what's the problem with that? Is that when you think that the ultimate is just to have knowledge, to attain knowledge, then you realize that everything just starts tasting the same. And it's always there for you. You could always pick up a book. You could always go to a class. But however, he says that's the tree of knowledge. Well, that's like the snake. It's always there. His curse is that nothing will ever taste different. Nothing is special. Nothing's mufrash. Nothing is separated. Nothing is elevated. Everything is just the same. That's the tree of knowledge, people. That's Eitz Hadat. By the way, you know people that for them, I mean, usually this happens when you're a little bit older, and then you start listening to music of the current generation, and compared to what you grew up on, the music is always horrible. Ever notice that? People that grew up in the '60s, for them, I don't blame them. That when they listen to the '80s music, it's just horrendous, and that was true for most people. But it's always like you listen to the previous. If you're from a previous generation, listen to everything's the same. Everything, I can't listen to it anymore. Look what he says here about the tree of life people. Then there are the tree of life people. We're in the fifth line. These are the non-snake people who don't eat dust. They know the difference between dust and a Shabbos dekachala. Not only do they have special moments, they become special people. A special person is somebody who has something special in their life. And if you have something special in your life, everything has the chance of becoming something special. Okay, this beautiful paragraph is something that Reb Shlomo teaches also on Pesach. He also discusses this at great length, describing the difference between Yaakov and Esav and the whole fight over the Bechorah, over the firstborn. What is the firstborn? I'm biased, obviously, as a Bechor. What is the firstborn? It's special. Special. We have a friend who learns. I'm sending him a lot of brachas right now. Him and his wife, they just found out today they're expecting their firstborn. A friend that lives in Brooklyn. And that moment of like, as high and exalted as it is, to then find out Be'ezer Hashem on future pregnancies, and Balasot, that specialness at that moment of finding out that your whole concept of metzius, of reality, is going to be completely exploded up, and that something completely new is going to happen, that's special. What does the snake come and say? What is the snake moment? What does the snake friend come and tell you about that moment that for you is so special and so real?
Just like any other.
Just like everyone, every family has a first. There's always a firstborn. What are you making such a big deal out of it? Meaning that there's always an option, there's always the possibility of completely downsizing and downplaying the special moments in your life. That's where that's where the snake is thriving off of. That's the tree of knowledge. Because on the level of knowledge, it's true. What's the difference between this firstborn and any other firstborn? Nothing. It's just that it's happening to you. But on an experience level, on an Eitz Chaim level, what's the difference between this firstborn and any other firstborn? Everything. Because this experience never existed before. It's never took place before, ever. Anyway, this should be also an Eitz Ratzon for a lot of healthy children and women to have no problems, Be'ezer Hashem, with pregnancies. It's a big inyan. It's a big inyan. Okay, so look how he ends this off, and he says, if I have 5 minutes and I choose to use those 5 minutes to learn I made those 5 minutes special. Do you know what happens after that? Whatever I do with the rest of the time becomes so holy as well, so special. Well, I'm going to ask everyone a very hard question, okay? Can you go back to your day today from the moment that you woke up, okay? And can you detect 5 minutes that were special today? No, I'm not. There's no anticipation for everyone to look like they're sitting shiva and realizing no. It's not a game. I want to point out that Baruch Hashem, our lives are filled with special moments. That's the point. Our lives are filled with them. So Reb Shlomo says, the more that you can go back to your day and say, you know what? At a certain point, yes, maybe it was at 9:30. Maybe it was at 11:30, maybe it was at 3 p.m., maybe it was at 6:30. I don't know. Maybe it's right now. Now it's not a chokhmah because we're talking about it, but before, maybe tonight. Shlomo says, when you have 5 minutes that are mufrash, that are separated, and they're elevated from the rest of the day, do you know what happens to the rest of the day? It's like you're pouring those 5 minutes are so contagious. They are sprinkled on the rest of your day. That's a truma. That's ma'es kol isha sheyidveno libo tikhu es truma. From that's the place. Those are God moments. So some people are godly because their whole day is special, and some people have moments of what we call from attacks, spiritual attacks. Moments. Is it possible that the whole day becomes special? What do you think? What's the fear? Why are we so scared to think that could happen? Because we're so scared that what's going to happen? That it'll stop being special. Because if it doesn't happen once in a blue moon, how can something still be special? Well, let me tell you, Chavra. Regarding everything else in the world, it's true. If your cousin flew from one corner of the world to surprise you 3 times a week, it would stop being special, right? The first time, it's very special. But everything else in the world, like if your spouse surprised you every night with your favorite dish, it really would stop being special. It could be the highest in the world. How? How could that maintain its specialness? Is if those moments of recognizing that my spouse did something for me, you know what the dish becomes? Becomes secondary, becomes symbolic. Doesn't become anything more than just a sign of someone wanted to do something special for me. Every morning in our house, when I wake up my girls, it's like the most incredible moment. Those first few minutes are like, they're so special because we try so hard to always say like, wow, another day. This day never happened before. That never becomes old. It never becomes old. In fact, it just becomes deeper and deeper and deeper. So this is what Reb Shlomo is saying over here. God moments can never become old. The specialness of God moments never become repetitive. You can learn the same Torah from Rabbi Nachman every single day. Learn Torah of Reish Pei Beis, Azamra. The Torah is such an infinite fountain of wisdom that it never ever seems old. It always maintains its specialness, its specialty. Real davener's shachris is always special. Wait a second. I just said it. The hardest test is when you go to shuls that do mincha maariv back to back. Those are intense because those usually aren't exactly like those you have to really work. I try to like whatever in my neighborhood is like mamish. There's a back to back, and if you're saying yalla v'yavo, they're so fast to get to maariv that by the time you finish that that's a hard one. That's not a simple one. But even there, there is a specialness of right now is another silent prayer. Right now is another moment of pouring out my heart. It's true. I say Slach Lanu Avinu. I'm not sure how much I could have, many averos I could have done in I just said Slach Lanu 3 minutes ago. I'm not sure exactly what I accomplished because I'm probably judging everyone else in the shul for davening so fast. But I felt, so you know what? I can make that Mara very special too. I definitely could. So here Shlomo says the destruction of the Holy Temple. Third line in the last paragraph. The destruction of the Holy Temple means there's nothing special in my life anymore. You think that the Churban Beis Hamikdash is that we don't have a building anymore? What was that building made out of? That building was made out of special feelings, donations of specialness. And that's what was destroyed. A place that was solely composed of specialness, of things that were mufrash and moved out. That's what we're crying over the Churban Beis Hamikdash. The destruction of the Holy Temple means there's nothing special in life anymore. Everything is the same. Going to the synagogue, going to the office, writing out a check, it's all the same. Playing baseball, playing with my children, sadly enough, it's all the same. This is an unbelievable way of understanding now. What are we mourning? Everyone says, it's so hard for me, Tisha B'Av, how could I relate? That's because to you, you're relating the destruction of a building, which, frankly, I don't know how any of us could really, truly cry over, even if it was a holy building. When you learn Reb Shlomo's Torah on what the Beis Hamikdash was, and you don't cry a river, there's something really wrong with you. That's how I feel. That's really the book. The Soul of Jerusalem was geared exactly for that, to understand in your heart of hearts, what are you crying over? What are you crying over? So here he explains to us, the Beis Hamikdash was a building which was built by special people who donated their special moments in their heart to bring something special, which built a special building. That specialness was destroyed. How do you rebuild the Beis Hamikdash? Until it actually gets rebuilt, Be'ezrat Hashem? Kvar Achshav, by the special moments, which is up to us to make. It's up to us. This Shabbos, this Friday night, do you know how many Shabbos Parshas Trumahs there have been in the world? Do you know how many first Shabbos in Chodesh Adar there have been in the world? What's going to be special about this Shabbos? What's going to be separate from this Shabbos, which never happened before? That's up to you. Will it be Shabbos? Yes, that's up to God. If the world still exists, Be'ezrat Hashem it will be. But to make it special, to make it a Trumah Shabbos, that is mind-bogglingly enough in our hands. And that's the beauty of the game that we're in. That's mamish the game. So let's catch ourselves. The next thing, we're going to do something we did every single night. Like maybe, well, some of us could say this. We went to sleep last night, right? We're going to go to sleep tonight too. Is tonight's going to sleep going to be a special going to sleep? Or will it be a YouTube going to sleep? Well, tomorrow morning's getting up in the morning being that, I can't believe it, again? Or will it be, oh my God, this Bet Adar never existed before. The me that exists on the 2nd of Adar never existed before. What am I going to make special about this day? Is my Thursday, Erev Shabbos Trumah, going to be a Trumah Dika Thursday or not? So, please, God, we should all be blessed because of our Baal Hilula yesterday, Michal Golem. Not just going to say God should bless us. I have to say, I bless you and you bless me. But please, God, if we wake up in the morning, it's only a sign that Hashem believes that tomorrow could be special and not that tomorrow could just be Thursday. It's got to be special. Anyway, the learning that for me personally, to learn with us together here is such a special, special thing. It's different than anything else in the world. And all our chaver that are learning with us online, I'm sure it's special for you online as well. But I guarantee you it'll be even 5 billion times more special when it's in person. Bezrat Hashem. We need all our chaver to come join us. It's very hard to feel special every day out there in Galus. It's not a simple thing. Here the gates are much more open for it. Anyway, Mashiach now. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
What is the URL that people can access?
Okay. What's that?
What's the URL that people can access?
For this?
For
Oh,
your live learning?
oh, they have to email me.
I'll email you.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about the CD. Everybody, Shlomo came out with a new CD and they're available.